This newly updated Warlock Void build makes you the Grenadier God. With the brand new features introduced with the Edge of Fate, like the new Armor 3.0 with new stats that now increase our damage dealt with grenades when going beyond 100, and also taking into consideration a bunch of new artifact perks and buffs, we can make our grenades deal even more damage than before, despite Bungie breaking our builds initially due to the armor and stat changes. So with this build today, we are revisiting the old Void Warlock build using the Contraverse Hold exotic arms, and recreating it so it's updated with all the new build crafting features in the Edge of Fate. You're going to get infinite overcharged weakening grenades. You're going to have a choice between buffing our grenade damage further by becoming radiant or chaining volatile rounds on void weapons, and you'll get your supers back faster than normal. This is not to mention the insane survivability the build brings too, that literally makes you unkillable even in the most difficult content. So guys, if you're like me that loved the Void Vortex build for the Warlock in the past and want to rebuild that once again, then you've come to the right place, because today we're doing just that. So guys, if you like this one, then a rating is much appreciated, and be sure to let me know what builds you're using down below. And now without further delay, let's get straight to it. Now with the Edge of Fate launch, Bungie introduced a brand new system, which is the Armor 3.0, which doesn't just bring new armor set bonuses, but it also brings updated stats that now buff those specific stats and make them even more lethal, so you can now build craft towards a specific area. Which is why if you find this build useful and you want to see more top builds like this for the Edge of Fate, then be sure to check out my full builds playlist down below or over on my Mobilix page, because you might just find your new best build in there. But with this one today, this is your updated Warlock Void Contraverse Hold build, which means we can run around with basically infinite grenades that deal overcharged damage to obliterate everything in your path. Whether you're someone who just wants to run around with this build solo or want to play in a team with your friends, then this build will work for you. The build has strong ad clear, strong survivability, and has passive boss damage using weakening grenades, which you can just mostly throw on them infinitely if you're using the setup that I'm using. It's not perfect all the time, but it does a great job most of the time, so sometimes you might not get that full grenade back, but the majority of the time you will, as long as you're killing enemies with it, or at least having a grenade cause some damage to them. What I mean by having a grenade cause damage is pretty simple. You just charge and throw a grenade at an enemy, and as long as it consistently damages them every 4 seconds, you'll trigger the exotics perk to kick in and give it that recharge rate boost, not once but twice. The Contraverse Hold's perk does have that 4-second cooldown, which is why you want the grenade dealing damage to enemies twice within the time that the grenade is up. But this will only work due to a combination of an aspect and fragment to extend the duration of that grenade, because without it the grenade just won't last long enough to activate the perk twice. You won't get the grenade back straight away, which is why ideally killing enemies with it is more ideal, since Devour will kick in to help generate more grenade energy. But essentially, the way the build works is you would first run in, charging a grenade and throwing it at a group of enemies to ideally kill them. This will grant you volatile rounds and Devour, and then you just run around normally with volatile rounds on void weapons and spam grenades on a loop. As long as you're killing stuff and causing damage with a grenade, all while Devour is active, then you'll be getting the grenade back insanely fast to use frequently, which is a really good source of extra damage, but also for ad clearing. It is a weakening grenade as well, which means you're debuffing enemies by 15% all the time, which is good against harder enemies and bosses. So in the real world, you'll just be melting everything pretty quickly, which is why this build has been one of my favourite builds in the game every single season for the Warlock. Now of course there are a few requirements for this build. The first is that you need the Contraverse Hold exotic arms. I recommend you go to the tower or Ada 1 if you have tokens and focus a pair, but make sure that you focus them with the Grenadier Armourer mod on your Ghost Shell so that you have a higher chance of it dropping with a higher grenade stat, since it's extremely important that we get the grenade stat overall as high as possible. But what Contraverse Hold does is it allows you to resist incoming damage when charging your Void Grenade with Chaos Accelerant, and charged Void Grenades return grenade energy on hit. So you will need to run the Void aspect Chaos Accelerant so that this works with the exotic. But this aspect allows the Vortex grenade to increase the size and duration of it. So since we're using these for the grenade type, you will need to also have the Vortex grenade on as your actual grenade. Those are basically the 3 requirements for this build. But for the grenades to get the energy back consistently, you'll want to run the Echo of Remnants fragment so that your grenades have increased duration. If you don't use this fragment, then you're going to run into the problem where your grenade is only going to trigger the exotics perk once, since it won't last longer than its 4-second cooldown to re-trigger the grenade's energy boost the second time. So it is very important you have this fragment on. It's also ideal that you make sure your grenade stat is at a minimum of 100 stats, specifically for the recharge rate to be faster. And then anything further will just make it stronger, since the grenade damage will be increased. So if you can get it to 200 stats, that would be a 65% damage increase, I believe. So make that your priority if you are maining this as your Warlock build. In the subclass though, we are using other fragments, so we do have Echo of Undermining, so void grenades weaken targets. This does give a negative 20 to the grenade stat, but this is perfect for using the grenade against champions and bosses, just to give you that extra damage against them. We also have Echo of Expulsion, so that void ability final blows cause targets to explode, always a good fragment to have, and I believe this works and stacks with our volatile rounds, which is the last fragment, Echo of Instability, so defeating targets with grenades grant volatile rounds to our void weapons. You don't have to use this, but I do recommend that you do, and pair it with a good void weapon, since it just flows nicely with the build, considering it is a void grenade build anyway. You can instead use solo weapons, and the reason for that is because by using the Shieldcrush artifact perk, while you have Radiant, your grenades recharge faster and deals increased damage, so that is always handy to have, but it might be harder to achieve since becoming Radiant will also require you to use those solo weapons to get rapid precision hits, and you'd also have to maintain that effect consistently, whereas you might as well just be better off using volatile rounds and grenades just to explode everything more consistently. Since we are using the aspect Feed the Void, defeating a target with void abilities like our grenade will activate Devour, and what Devour does is it will give us health and grenade energy when we kill enemies with that active, so that also helps top off the grenade energy that we're missing if we do have a bad throw or just don't get the full grenade back. Other abilities that we are using in the subclass are just the Slower Bomb, the Slow Nova Bomb one, as the super, and a Healing Rift so that we can get health back when we need it. In the artifact, there isn't really much else benefiting us. We do have this perk here, where defeating targets has a chance to create an elemental pickup matching our super. That will just be a Void Breach that grants more ability energy, and that's about it. So this build will work for every season that you're using with the new Armor 3.0 system, so you don't have to work around the artifact perks for this one. For mods though, these again don't really matter too much, but it just helps with the uptime on the grenade, but I do recommend using 2 Ashes to Assets in the helmet, since it can allow us to get faster supers. And then just use mods that will generate orbs of power, and mods that will help get your grenade back faster when using those orbs, and that's all you really need with this build to make it as strong as it can be. This is a really good build to use in both solo and team content, and definitely a top Warlock build I recommend you use this season for Season Reclamation in the Edge of Fate right now. So guys, that there is your newly updated Warlock Contraverse Hold build for the Warlock this season using the new Armor 3.0 stats. If you like this one, then you might like some of my other builds, all of which are in the playlist down below or over on my Mobalytics page. For now, check this one out, let me know what you think of it down below, and I'll catch you all in the next video soon. Peace out guys.